Skaters will spend hours learning the technique of tricks, but barely spend any time building the legs that actually make those tricks happen. Now that more pros are openly training, skaters are starting to wake up to the insane differences some targeted leg training can make towards their skating. The issue is, you go searching for leg exercises online and it's really just a mess. Random advice, clickbait thumbnails, and gym fluff that really has nothing to do with skating. So let's clear it up. Today, I'm gonna give you the 5 best leg exercises I use with all my skaters, from your pros and sponsor skaters all the way down to your everyday battlers. Exercises that deliver big on strength, control, pop, and injury resilience. Exercises that if you did nothing else would completely transform your skating with minimal investment of time. Let's get stuck in.
Front salad, back salad, front blunt.
Starting off with number 1, the Bulgarian split squat is one of, if not the best leg exercise for skaters. Hitting your quads, glutes, and adductors, the big drivers in skating, and it does all of this whilst mimicking the exact positions we hit on board. Now, people will always try and argue that squats are better for skaters because they resemble more of the positions we adopt when skating. However, unlike squats, which distribute force evenly on both sides, the Bulgarian split squat allows us to load a single side at a time. This allows us to even out any strength discrepancies often developed with skating, which can often get worse with traditional squats. It also helps skaters work around limited ankle mobility, often caused from ankle rolls or just general wear and tear. You see, when you force a skater into a squat and they have limited ankle mobility on one side, it causes them to shift to one side. That shift forces one leg to overwork, puts it in poor positions, and can lead to irritation over time. Finally, being in a single leg environment challenges proprioception and balance, forcing you to express strength relative to your ability to create both. This is why, if you're looking for the leg lift that gives you the most value, this is the one. Still, what makes the Bulgarian split squat so powerful is its adaptability. Making small tweaks, you can shift your emphasis depending on your goal. Let me show you as we break down the technique. To set up for your Bulgarian split squat, the easiest thing to do is to take a seat at the end of the chair or whatever it is that you're using to perform it. From there, you're just going to extend the leg straight. You can see the edge of my butt is basically on the edge of that chair. I'm going to measure out my heel, and that's going to be where my heel is going to start from in that position. So you can see I can pretty much just go into position like so. I'm going to put my back foot up, preferably flat, but can be up on toe. It just requires a bit more ankle mobility to do so. But having it flat just places more tension onto that front leg. From there, I'm simply just going to descend slowly, straight down, pausing, and then driving up with control. If this feels like a lot, you can always set up a chair in front for a little bit of extra support, grab a wall for a little bit of support and stability initially until you get the hang of it, and then allows you to kind of deload as you get stronger. With just some simple tweaks, we can change the loading on the Bulgarian split squat to suit our goals. For example, if you wanted to challenge more ankle mobility and then challenge the knee a little bit more, we simply scoot back a little bit from our regular position, drop down, and you'll see now the knee pushes forward a bit more and then challenges that ankle mobility. On the reverse, if we simply stay in our normal position, scoot forward just a touch, and then think about dropping down but sending our hip back, increasing the angle at the hip joint, we are now using our glutes and hammies a bit more to power up as we come through. Coming in at number 2 is the single leg deadlift. The single leg deadlift is a complete game changer for building strength at your posterior chain. This is a collection of muscles including your glutes, hamstrings, and calves, which are massively undertrained but severely abused in skating. For example, as we land and take impact, our glutes and hammies need to lengthen in order to help us decelerate. As we pop, the glutes finish off that last bit of hip extension in order to get power to project us forward, whilst the hamstrings create stability at the knee. And maybe most obvious, during the push stride, you need strong hip extension and stability from the ground up in order to create a strong, powerful push stride, not one that leaks energy and has you pushing like a Gumby. It builds real strength where skaters need it the most. The cherry on top is it challenges proprioception and balance relative to skating, so you don't need to go waste your time with unstable surface drills. Let me show you how to set it up properly. To set up for a single leg deadlift, you basically want to choose a side that's going to be the working leg. So for example, that's going to be my right leg here. I'm going to take a small step back with my other leg or have it up on its toe. From there, we almost want to think of it like a seesaw. So as soon as my shoulders start coming down, my back leg needs to come up equal amounts forward. So as you can see, as I start to come down, you see my shoulders and that back foot are pretty much in line. From this bottom position, I'm going to think about squeezing at the glute or pushing this hip forward to bring me up. As I come down, I want to maintain just like a soft bend at the working leg or the knee of the working leg, like so. And as I come up, I want to straighten up fully. Initially, it will help to just have a bit of support from say like something like a wall or a rod or a foam roller so that you can get the hang of the movement. And for many people, this will be enough in terms of challenging stability and you feel like you get the wobbles. Once you can start kind of going at body weight like so, we can start introducing a little bit of load in the opposite hand and simply start to build the strength that we need to out of the exercise. Just make sure from the bottom position here, we're not trying to arch our lower back or try and drive our shoulders back to the start position, which is going to create an overarch of that lower spine. In this bottom position here, we want to think about using the glutes and using those powerhouses to extend the hip forward rather than overarch and then just come back into that start position. Hamstring curls. The hamstring curl targets, well, you guessed it, the hamstrings. But more importantly, it trains them through knee flexion, which is often a major gap in most skaters' strength training. When skaters think knee pain, they tend to think of exercises that hit the quads, and rightly so, it's an important part of the equation. But what most skaters miss is this only targets one out of the two major functions of the knee. This leaves a huge gap in knee strength and stability, especially with the unsung heroes of knee performance, the hamstrings. The hamstrings aren't just passive tissue. They are the dominant movers in knee flexion and play a massive role in stabilizing the knee and protecting the ACL, especially when you're landing, decelerating, or twisting during a trick. For example, when you take impact, the hamstrings are lengthening in order to decelerate the knee joint. During high-speed pushing or transition skating, the hamstrings are stabilizing the knee so that you're not relying on your passive structures like your ligaments. And finally, weak hamstrings are one of the biggest risk factors for ACL tears and meniscus injuries, especially when there's no dedicated knee flexion work being done. That's why the hamstring curl should be a staple in your skate-based exercises. They're easy to load, isolate a weak link that most skaters ignore, and help balance all the quad movements that most skaters do. Let's take a look at how to load them properly and how to scale them depending on what equipment you have around. To set up for this exercise, you're basically gonna get yourself a mat, get down on the ground, you're basically gonna get your foam roller, and you're gonna place it into the back of your ankles, right around where the shoe begins. From there, I'm simply going to lay back like so, and now I want to grab tension from the ground with my hands. Don't have them here, have them firmly on the ground because they'll allow you to help drive and create stability from those lats and that back through the movement. Next, I'm simply just going to prep by raising my bum off the ground lightly, and then I'm going to try and bring my heels in as if I'm trying to almost like kick myself into my bum or the back of my hamstrings. From there, I'm just going to come down slow and controlled all the way down to the end, and my knees are straightened out, and I'm simply going to kick in again for the repetitions. Just make sure as you kick in, you keep driving your hip up high towards the ceiling. So as I drive my knees in, make sure the hip hasn't stayed low. It's come along for the ride with you. The progression will then simply go from your double to going double in, one leg comes out, and then eccentrically loading with the single before placing the double in again, bringing it in with both, changing sides, and then lengthening back with the other one. The final progression will simply be to have one leg up in the air and go in for your single leg variation. Finally, if you don't have a foam roller, you can simply use your trusty skateboard to do all the same variations, whether it be the double, the two in, one out, or even at the end, just going into the single. Pogos. Pogos are one of the simplest but most underrated plyometric drills that you can do. They train your ankles, calves, and feet, but most importantly, they create a high-speed stimulus required for tendon adaptation that skaters desperately need. Most exercises load muscles slowly, but when you skate, you're constantly loading your tendons like your Achilles and your quad tendon at high velocities with little to no warning. And if your tendons aren't prepared for that, this is when you can get flare-ups like shin splints, Achilles tendon, or quad tendon issues. For example, when you pop, your body relies on a fast stretch shortening cycle that your tendons use to create that recoil and spring. When you land or absorb impact, your tendons behave like shock absorbers, handling huge amounts of loads in milliseconds. Even in pushing and bowl skating, that bounce and stiffness in the lower legs comes from healthy tendons. This is why pogos can be the game changer that most skaters are missing in their program. When done right, they're one of the best exercises to build elastic strength, pop, and resilience. The key, as always, is in execution. So let me show you how to do them for maximum effect. When performing our pogos, we want to think almost like the floor is lava. So we want quick ground contact, and that's going to dictate how high we go. And it's going to be a regulator for the exercise. So you want to start nice and quick. But if I start going too high now and I'm starting to wind up or bend my knees a lot to almost wind up like a squat jump, you've gone too far and we're now not getting the adaptation out of the exercise that we were seeking. So again, thinking nice and quick, and as long as you can keep that quickness off the ground, you can continue to explore with the heightened intensity that's right for you. Another piece of the puzzle is in the air, I'm gonna try and get my toes up towards the ceiling. This is simply just going to prep you for the landing so you can attack the ground. So as I'm driving up, you see my toes coming up towards the ceiling, and I'm almost using my feet as like a paddle to really strike the ground as I'm landing. Calf raises. Calf raises should be a non-negotiable staple in every skater's program. You see, the calves are the largest muscle group responsible for creating strength, stability, and power at one of the most abused joints in skateboarding, the ankles. Here's some examples. In the pre-pop phase, we often adopt a float heel position right before we pop. This places a ton of strain on the ankle joint and the muscle responsible for stabilizing it, the calf. As we land and take impact, our heels will often have a violent drop down below our toe level and need to come up nice and quick in order to steer the board straight and make our trick. This violent recoil is a big responsibility of the calf itself. During pushing, the calf helps create ankle stiffness so that you can get a nice powerful push stride as you push off. This is why calf raises are non-negotiable for skaters. When done properly with full range and load, they build durability, strength, and control that carries directly over to your skating. And there you have it, 5 of the most effective leg exercises for skaters. Stick to these and you'll be miles ahead of other skaters wasting time with fancy exercises they found online. More importantly, you'll be building a body and legs that can actually keep up with the way that you want to skate. This will make working on technique back on board a hell of a lot easier. And when you've got an amazing results and you're ready for that next level shit, the kind that blows skate performance through the roof, be sure to check out the Ultimate Skate Performance Program as part of the Skateboard Strength app. Link down below. Catch you on the next one.